In Venezuela, Interior Minister Diosdado Cabello warns of ongoing far-right plans to generate violence and chaos in the country. Russian armed forces fully liberated Kurakhovo, a city in the Donbass. And in Palestine, Israeli occupation forces fiercely intensified their attacks on Gaza amid truce negotiations. Hello, welcome from the South. I'm Luis Alberto Matos from teleSUR studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. Venezuelan Interior Minister Diosdado Cabello made a statement on the attempts of the far-right to generate violence in the country. Senior officials recalled the violent acts that occurred in the days following the July 28th elections, in which terrorist groups paid to attack public health facilities and educational centers, among other infrastructures. Cabello also stressed that the plan of the external and internal far-right is to blame the Bolivarian government for the aggressions to create destabilization. Also, the sector vice president of Venezuela warned that the ultra-right is trying to seize power by violent means when it cannot achieve it through the electoral process. And the legislative, the Interior Minister of Venezuela, Diosdado Cabello, referred to the unity of the people, the military, and the police forces to face all these destabilization attempts.
In sum, Venezuela is at peace and it continues to be at peace. Whoever wants to disturb peace must hold accountability, and we will hold our responsibility too. So there's one thing that they dislike. Always national unity is fundamental. But today, we are more united than ever. The president has summoned two popular military and police fusion, which is not only wars. We were just talking with the head of the military, the planning of all these days, in which our armed forces participate, our people participate, and our police corps participate. So it is a teamwork, a coordinated teamwork.
The Legislative Assembly of El Salvador approved for the 34th time an extension of the exception regime to combat criminal group remnants. The measure went into effect on March 27, 2022, and since that date, according to the authorities, more than 83,900 captures have been reported. Government legislators, including the president of the body, Ernesto Castro, have defended the application of the measure, assuring a reduction in the homicide rate. However, human rights organizations in the country, in addition to reporting the abuses of power protected by this regime, confirmed more than 300 deaths of those deprived of their liberty. We are going live to Venezuela as the Defense Minister of Venezuela, Padrino Lopez, is offering statements. Let's listen.
How is it going in this moment in the United States? Prisoner of his own owners. Mr. González Urrutia doesn't understand that the Bolivarian Armed Forces is an entity that is loyal, that is abided by the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela, by the homeland, that does not obey to the orders of imperial powers. It is an armed force independent, which gets out in defense of our people, and that has worked hardly, strongly to keep peace of the republic, the necessary peace for children to go to classes, for youngsters to go to the university, the necessary peace for the workers, men and women, go to their workplaces, the necessary peace for the economic prosperity of the country, the peace for which the Bolivarian Armed Forces in military, police, civic union have developed and deployed in all these times that the far right, the Venezuelan far right, fascist far right, this far right, a fascist faction that has intended to break and to call on the chaos and on the war and on the clashes between Venezuelans They don't know, they don't realize the dimension of this word. That's why they invoke with so much lightly. This Mr. González Urrutia, a wanted person of Venezuelan justice, has dared to send a ridiculous message, a poor message, a lame message, a very senseless, headless message. It does not have a coherent message which should be directed to an institution like ours. That's why we have prepared the communique of the Bolivarian Armed Forces in response to them, because they weren't able to disrupt the national security, that one that you divorce from, that Venezuelan institutionality in which the people, in which the National Electoral Council proclaimed the president-elect for the 2025-2031 term. All that institutionality, you disregard all that institutionality, and so you prefer to go to the international mechanism, to the O's, to puppet governments of the U.S. administration, and that therefore we are just looking into it very carefully, because it is always there, the presence and in the permanent action of you to end the peace of the Republic. So I'm going to read the communique of the Bolivarian Armed Forces in response to this ridiculous message of this coward wanted of justice, González Urrutia, who has been dedicated to sending messages, very empty message and lack of content, very ridiculous messages. So I am going to read the communique of the Bolivarian Armed Forces. We have seen with deeply outrageous a video published on January 5th, published by the coward Edmundo González Urrutia, sending a message to the Bolivarian Armed Forces with incoherent message statements demonstrating his ignorance and his despair ahead of the imminent failure of his coup-mongering plans. So the video was issued at the moment he arrives at the United States of America, which government is sponsoring the far right of Venezuela. So they are refugee, because González Urrutia doesn't count on the popular support of the Venezuelans, because Venezuelans despise him. So with this, his improper words referring to peace and stability of Venezuela, because he systematically has requested sanctions and cohesive unilateral measures that so much damage has caused to the Venezuelan people, including the military troops and their families, who have been the first victims of violence, whose by the criminal groups during years as part of their neo-fascist actions to destabilize the legitimate government and undermine the tranquility of his citizens. So we reject strongly that ridiculous act of political act which won't undermine the awareness and the revolutionary conscience of the Bolivarian Armed Forces, so abided by the fusion of civic and military police will defend their freedom, independence, and peace. So the whole world must know it that on January 10th, 2025, we will ratify the commitment with the Bolivarian democracy, and so we will recognize President-elect Nicolás Maduro Moros as a constitutional president for the 2025-2031 term, to which we will swear. We will make an oath to be obedient and loyal. So don't mess up with us. For Chavez and Bolivar, we will go on to victory. Chavez, long live Chavez, and independence and socialist homeland. We will defeat. We will triumph. Independence or nothing. Loyal always. Traitors never. Thank you very much, and a hug for all the Venezuelan people.
We were listening to the statements of Venezuelan Defense Minister Vladimir Padrino Lopez. The official said that all Venezuelan sectors are ready to face and defeat the far-right fascist attempts to generate violence in the country. The Defense Minister reaffirmed the strength of Venezuela's institutionality and the commitment of security forces to protect the nation's sovereignty and the will of the people expressed at the July 28th elections. Padrino Lopez read a joint statement by security forces agencies in response to what he described as an incoherent and cowardly message sent by Edmundo González to the armed forces, adding that said message would not undermine the civic-military union and express the full support for the elected government of President Nicolás Maduro, who will be sworn in January 10th, next Friday. Now let's take a short break, but remember you can join us on TikTok at teleSUR English, where you'll find news in different formats, news updates, and much more. We'll be right back. Stay with us. Welcome back. In South Korea, Seoul Western District Court rules to overturn an arrest warrant for impeached President Yoon Suk-yeol. The arrest was requested by the high-ranking officials' Corruption Investigation Bureau, charging Yoon with planning and organizing the declaration of martial law, as well as orchestrating an insurrection and abusing his power. His legal team previously requested the invalidation of the order and supported the request on the grounds that only the prosecution can request the arrest. Thousands of South Koreans are rallied outside Yoon's residence in support of his arrest, while others reject his detention. It is important to highlight the fact that Yoon has ignored 3 summons to be questioned. The Russian Defense Ministry confirmed on Monday morning that southern troops have completely liberated one of the key cities, Donbass. It is the largest populated southwestern Kurakhovo. During the first reconnaissance of the area, they estimate that Ukrainian forces have lost over 12,000 troops in the battlefield. It's 80% of their personnel and about 3,000 units of various weapons and military equipment, including about 40 tanks and other armored vehicles. The Defense Office attached importance to Kurakhovo as the area has become a powerful fortified area with a developed network of long-range firing positions and subway communications in the past 10 years. And in France, farmers blocked a highway in the southeast in rejection of the policies implemented by Emmanuel Macron's government and the trade agreements with the European Union. Farmers mobilized tractors in coordination with rural unions to close off traffic on Highway number 10 near Paris. The Rural Coordination Union warned that in spite of the ban on protests, they are demanding the reduction of bureaucracy, the payment of withheld European Union subsidies, support for young farmers, the reduction of state regulation of the sector, and the suspension of the free trade agreement with Mercosur. The union itself also reported that it was carrying out the same action east of Paris. And in Spain, children who have been forced to migrate have already received a visit from the Three Wise Kings in solidarity. Thanks to donations from citizens, they have delivered almost 2,000 toys so that no child is left without a gift. More information on our colleague Lucia Muñoz.
Por fin ha llegado el día más esperado del año.
The most awaited day of the year for children has finally arrived.
the Day of the Three Kings. Omashai Anom arrived in Spain from Nigeria 20 years ago. Amidst nerves, he accompanies his daughter and son to collect the gifts left for them by the kings in solidarity.
We are here so that the children have toys, because it is very important that the children have toys. Because on this date, when the children don't have toys, it is like a seal for life.
The Kings of Solidarity is an initiative of the Integration for Life Collective. The objective is that no child in a situation of social exclusion is left without a gift. There are many families who, like Mercedes from Bolivia, left their country behind when they migrated, but the illusion always travels with them.
This day is very important. We are waiting here for the kings to come and the children too. Those who do not have toys can come here and receive a gift, because there are many, so that all the children do not lack any gift.
The inflation in basic needs such as food and in rights such as housing, which families have to face every day, leaves no margin to buy gifts on this special day. For this reason, Integration for Life assists hundreds of families in social exclusion, and thanks to donations from the public, they can maintain the magic of Christmas.
We also consider that it is a basic need for the child to have a toy. Many times the families don't thank us, even though it's like if we didn't give them that, they wouldn't have anything to give them. Some of them do have relatives and people close to them who can help them, but many of them are waiting for this day to put a gift under the tree and give it to them on the 6th. Sometimes they don't even let the children open it here, because they want to save it for the 6th. Or many of them do open it knowing that it is the only thing they are going to receive.
That no child is left without a toy. This is the mission of the Kings and Kings in Solidarity. They have come here with more than 1,950 gifts donated on a day, when they are still waiting for the most exciting night of the year. After making it through the East, the wise men are already walking the streets of half the world. These migrant kings not only bring gifts to the little ones and those who are not so little anymore, but also remind us that the magic lies in being in solidarity with others and achieving peace.
Lucía Muñoz Lucena y Franci González, TeleSUR, Andalucía, España.
We have a second short break coming up, but before we invite you to visit our YouTube channel, teleSUR English. There you'll be able to rewatch our interviews, top stories, special broadcastings, and more. Hit the subscribe button and activate the notification bell to stay up to date on the world's most recent events. Final short break, don't go away. Welcome back. The Israeli occupation forces are fiercely intensifying their attacks on Gaza, while Israel and Hamas resistance movement have been discussing a possible truce. Authorities reported on Monday morning 8 deaths in Sheikh Radwan and numerous injured in northern Gaza. In addition, they informed people went missing after a bombing on a house nearby the Omari Mosque in Darash. Indeed, the genocidal forces have pushed the Palestinian death toll up to 250 from Thursday to Monday. Meanwhile, the resistance movement from northern Gaza fired missiles at Sderot, hitting to death at least 3 settlers in northeastern West Bank. Moreover, the Palestinian movement mounted a raid against a bus in which 6 Israeli settlers were injured. In this context, the Israeli occupation forces shelled the Al Bureij refugee camp, where thousands of Gazans take shelter. The attack targeted a tent used by a family that was completely wiped out. International humanitarian organizations continue to denounce the dire conditions that Palestinians endure in the coastal enclave after over 15 months of Israel's genocidal war.
A strike hit and we rushed to check on the family members. We headed to the upper apartment, but we did not find my brother Khaled. So we started searching for him under the rubble and we found him, his body, lying in our neighbor's house.
They bombed the house of a police officer, a civilian, with his family and wiped them out from the civil registry. There is massive destruction here.
And Israel tightens control over southern Syria after its troops maneuver and seize 40% of the country's water. The Israeli troops continue their expansionist plans by controlling at least 13 military points in the governorates of Damascus, Gunayta, and western Dara. At the same time, the Zionist troops have taken control of 40% of the country's water reserves and have fenced off these areas, preventing the inhabitants from accessing them, which could lead to a water crisis in the region. Syrian residents denounced that the Israeli army is moving freely in armored vehicles on the border between Syria and Lebanon after the seizure of power by terrorist groups. And local activists denounced alarming increase in sectarian violence in western Syria. Over 500 people have been arbitrarily arrested in the last 3 days. The operations are carried out specifically in Latakia and Tartus in the province of Homs. They denounced that the public security forces seem to act in accordance with the law and their paramilitary groups do the dirty work. They arrest Alawite Muslims and subject them to humiliating treatment. Ranking officers are forced to flee and to crawl, often without clothes. The current location of most of the detainees is unknown. While Western governments reach agreements with terrorists, the sister and aunt of the artist, Baha al-Yusuf, were killed by the new rulers. And local humanitarian organizations warn of the consequences of the new advance of the M23 rebels in the Congolese province of North Kivu. The dangerous rebel march has generated a wave of massive displacements towards Goma, the provincial capital, which is already densely demanded. Currently, there are 30 camps with serious limitations of drinking water, food, or basic medical services. Johnson Ishara, coordinator of the organization Conscious Dynamic Generation, details that in the city there are already 2 million internally displaced people that could increase in next hours until reaching 5 million. The situation has been qualified by the activists as a serious humanitarian scandal. We have come to the end of this newsbrief. You can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. So join us on social media, Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok. For Telesur English, I'm Luis Alberto Matos. Thank you for watching.